Hello, Saberland, and all Star Wars fanatics, and pretty much all the sci-fi crazies out there. My name is Chris, and I just wanted to do a bit of a review on my new Saber, the Vader's Vault Hero. Got this guy just a few days ago, and it's just been amazing. I'll go over a little bit about it and maybe do some comparisons with previous. I've owned a couple of other Return of the Jedi hero style sabers before, and I might compare some of the differences, but I'm not going to go too much into other companies and products. I really just want to focus on this one and some of the things that I really love about it. But first off, just overall quality. I mean, this thing, it's really slender. It has a great weight to it. It's a little more dense than like the last one that I've owned was a Saber Forge Prodigal Son, and it was a pretty good saber. I mean, like I didn't really have any issues with the company ordering the product itself, but overall there are some differences that I just knew that I would want to change in the future, and then an opportunity struck, which I will go over in just a little bit. But let's start. Overall, with just the Saber in general. This is the Luke Return of the Jedi Saber hero. Now there's the V2, which is the one you see most during the movie, and I mean honestly, the product that the one they probably used the most during the film was the Yuma. But this one, it's always kind of struck a chord with me from when Vader's looking over it and speaking to Luke, and you get that first picture of this really clean and kind of upgraded seeming saber. And so we'll start kind of at the back. You have your pommel with the vent for sound. We'll hear it in just a second, but it's a nice, it's a crisp but full sound. There's a really nice deep hum to it, and there's multiple fonts you can add on to it. As you go down this body, very, very clean machining. You'll see these lines right here. Actually, right here is the threading for opening it up for the internal chassis. We can go over that in a bit as well. You have the control box, accurate with the copper accents. You have the black button controls. These are what actually control this saber. There's a few that are doing the card control. The card on this doesn't do anything. It doesn't move. And so everything is pretty much done with these two, and it's not just one straight black button across. It's actually two separate buttons that are just very, very close together. And then of course you have the arrows. These do light up. They also blink kind of randomly in different patterns. Through the card for the crystal shard that powers this, you can't change the patterns as far as I know, but I kind of like it being random. Sometimes they blink, right together. Sometimes they're slightly off, one on, one on. I mean, it's interesting, and it brings a little bit of life to the saber, and we'll turn it on in just a little bit. You have the ribbed grenade section. This is one of the major differences from the previous saber that I owned, the Prodigal Son, and this one. The ribbing on this one, they kind of they thin a bit from the black background to come together to these these 9 spots or so, and it's a little bit shorter. The previous saber that I owned, that Prodigal Son, the Saber Forge one, it's a pinch longer, and it's wider overall, not in any kind of ridiculous way, but I mean it is a bit wider, a bit larger saber hilt. And on that one, on the Saber Forge one, the emitter stuck out the most as one of the bits that were oversized. And so this one, it's very even across. It's much more accurate to the actual hero saber. And then getting up to the neck, I mean, I'm just a sucker for thin necks. I've mentioned this in a previous review, and I mean, every now and then I'm in forums talking about, it's just something I've always loved, the Obi-Wan hilts from A New Hope being the first one that we see, and then once Luke lights his new one up, and you just get, I don't know, I love the different shapes. And I mean, this one already, it kind of speaks to me as a bit of like a retro modern hilt overall. A lot of people don't really like control boxes. I don't mind them. I think it speaks to the functionality of a saber that there might be a piece like that. It may not be great for twirling and doing spins and all that, but I don't do that, so I'm not really going to have that criticism. To me, I think it's something that, it fits what's in the movies, and it feels like something from that universe. And so you have this beautiful copper neck, On the copper accents and the neck, I'll turn the lights out in a bit, but there's a little bit of a brushed, worn feel to the copper. So whereas the rest of it is very clean and very shiny, the copper has a little bit of that, but it has just a little bit, not even a weathering, I don't know how to describe it, but it comes across a bit differently, so it gives a slight used feel. I'm not a fan of weathering on most Sabers. I think it looks really good on a few. This one I wanted clean, and the copper does not, the copper being that little bit of off tone, not, you know, gleaming, is perfectly fine with me. It's wonderful. And then you get to the emitter. There's actually there's a accurate blade plug in here. This is with the Emitter Delete. Now, those of you familiar with the Hero and the release from Saber Forge, there's the emitter that's good for dueling, and it has a raised area that's right outside this bit that's actually on the emitter itself, and it kind of allows for more space for the blade to fit in, and it's better overall for dueling with. But personally, I just couldn't do it. I just thought it was kind of, I mean, ugly basically when it came to the emitter. I get why it's done, and I mean, it looks okay for what it is, but personally, I'd rather have it this way, where there's the deep hole for where you can put the blade if you'd like to use it. You can tighten it with the retention screw, and this blade plug pops out. We'll go over that in just a second. But yeah, generally that's the Saber, and probably one of the last things I'll go over. I guess there's a big difference in some control boxes here and there when it comes to the Saber. This one's relatively thin. You're going to have a pretty easy time holding this, maybe even spinning it. It's not a very wide control box. I believe KR has done a version as well. His is a little bit wider, and it's got a little more, you know, gleam to the copper. And I think that's closer to the deleted version, the scene where Luke is fixing his saber towards the beginning of Return of the Jedi. This one's much more accurate to the in-film scene of when Vader's looking over and observing Luke's saber within the movie. So yeah, great. Let's go ahead and power it up. So the kill key is already out of the inside. I'm not really going to deal with that, but when you open up the chassis, there is a kill key, and you just take that out. Allows the Saber to be powered. It goes into kind of a deep sleep for most of the time. Press the button, comes out of it. There you got the blinkies. That's terrible that I just said that, but oh well. And get out of that sound. Not sure how that comes across in the video, but whatever. Sounds badass here. You just get a little bit of the light out of the front. Nothing too bright. I have a kind of a nice little Star Wars area, and having just that little bit of light coming out is perfectly fine. It's not going to shower the entire area with green, and then we can take that out later, and that'll be great for the blade. And then, so basically, you'll tap it to turn it on. You'll hold it for just a second to turn it off, and then you can cycle through sound fonts. I think the Crystal Shard can hold up to 6. I'm not sure on that. I don't know how much I'll be messing with the card to change some of those options, but at the moment there's 3 different ones. And so if you hold the back button while it's off, it cycles to the next font. You turn it on, get that nice snap hiss, and it's a bit warmer, a little more controlled, just kind of a low groan. And then see, we'll do it one more time to go through the other font that's on here. Now forgive me, I don't know the names of these fonts yet, so I apologize, but yeah, we'll turn this one on too. Have a little bit of a sharper snap hiss on that one. It's a little bit longer, and then the hum is kind of a more mechanical, metallic, like harmonic hum overall. It's not bad. All right, so we'll turn that off. We'll go back to the primary font, and I'll show you just a couple other things when it comes to the sound. All right, and so this back button, while it's on, is used for the auxiliary sounds. So you'll have 2 separate ones. You can do either when you tap on it, You get the blaster bolt deflection, which that's one thing these fonts actually sound a lot more realistic than the one I had in my previous hilt. The one I had in my previous hilt, I think it was more the sound, if I'm right, of AT-AT's firing. It still kind of sounded like the blaster bolt deflection, but this one has a little bit more of, it sounds like a smaller, crisper kind of sound. And if you hold it, you get the sabers clashing together. You get that snapping distortion there. And each of those fonts has one that's slightly different. I'm just going to go through that in this one. And then also, just to clarify, that is a flash on clash on these. I did choose white because I'm just a sucker for just the classic, you know, something brighter than the green. That's not gonna, I don't care to shake things too much on the color on this one. When I see this, I mean, I know the original color of this saber was going to be, you know, blue. And of course, we all know that kind of changed once they were going over the Tatooine scenes at the beginning, and they changed it green just for the contrast with the sky behind. And I mean, the green is the way I saw it. A little white for the flash on clash for when they go together. I think that's awesome. So yeah, that's everything for the stand. We'll go over a little more, maybe of some other things you see in my room in just a second. If you're interested in this stand, by the way, because I know some of you will probably ask after watching this video, go to Etsy, look up Quest Design Canada. It's, I believe it's all one word, Quest Design Canada, Q-U-E-S-T, Design Canada, and you will find these were originally used as blaster holders. They had longer arms that were higher up, and it would hold Star Wars blasters. And I messaged the owner. I'm blanking on his name right now. It was a little over a year ago that we first spoke, but and I wanted to see if I can do it for my prodigal son that had come in. And so we did measurements. He actually sent me 2 sets of arms just in case the other arms measurements were off in any way. These were my extra set originally, and then I had other ones. Some of you may know my prodigal son crystal review for Saber Forge, and you'll notice that in that one there's straighter arms that are a little bit higher overall. That fit the prodigal son perfectly between the emitter and about right here on the end. But this saber for the hero, it's about not even 3/4 of an inch shorter. Like it's just a pinch shorter, but it was enough that those other arms didn't work. That's okay though, because when I was going through and showing some of my friends and other people the stands and the arms, a lot of people actually liked these angle ones better than the straight. So, you know, I like both, but these fit perfectly with the neck between the thin areas and the edge right there. So great. Here, so what I'm gonna do, go over just a couple more things to the side here. All right, so when it comes to the chassis for the internals, all you have to do, you hold and you unscrew. Couple seconds and voila. It's very clean, very organized internals. You have the SD card there that you can take out, plug it in your computer. Probably some kind of software you can use, but I haven't messed with that. And so I'll get into that another time, see what kind of settings I can fiddle with. Oh, and yes, right here, originally where the kill key would be, and that's also for the recharge. Now, Vader's Vault, as far as I know, I think this is their first rechargeable hilt for like inner recharge. I mean, usually they'll use the batteries in each of their sabers. I mean, you have a lot of dueling enthusiasts that would just like to change it on the go. Perfectly fine. Me, I don't really care about that. I don't really duel. I mean, I'll handle this thing all the time, and you know, just mess with it and not really, I can just go charge it for a couple hours while I do something else. It's really not that big a deal. So the recharge port for me is actually a little better, and I like that, but that's okay. I also have a VV TFA Flex coming, and that'll have the batteries. So I mean, I'll see the option there and see the change. So there you got the blade plug. Occasionally, just it can get slightly stuck in there, but I'll just use the hex key to kind of pull it out by the small. It's a small hole right there on the outside where the light shines through as well. That can help kind of pop it out. I mean, it's right there. You saw I was able to pull it out pretty easily. And then inside, you have the Tri-Cree LEDs. I believe these are green, green, white. And so yeah, it's really amazing. And I'll keep this off for a second. Let's go ahead and pop the blade in. We'll talk about that for a second. Now, from Saber Forge, for this order, I got the bullet. Sorry, not the bullet, the rounded top. It is the shine through 32-inch. And this is going to be, I mean, it's pretty evenly sanded across the entire thing. The 32-inch, I think it's the perfect length. After doing a 36-inch blade from Saber Forge, I mean, granted it was a heavy dueling grade, and so overall it's going to have a lot more weight on the ends. But with those few extra inches, and then trying to move and spin, it was kind of difficult. But with this, I mean, the balance is really, really great. And so yeah, we'll go ahead and light it up. Now, if it was dark in here, which, I'll turn off the lights in a second, but yeah, if you turn off the lights and look at this Saber, and then you turn the Saber off, everything you have is going to be like blue and purple in front of your eyes for a second. I mean, it's pretty damn bright. I've owned a Makoto version of the Return of the Jedi Saber, and the Makoto version is probably the brightest. It's the brightest blade I've ever seen. You had LEDs throughout the entire thing, and it had like a scrolling effect due to that. It's pretty great, but I mean, it wasn't a removable blade. He may have been able to, adapt that later on, but there were a couple other things with the Makoto version of this Saber I wasn't very happy with. On these LEDs, even though they had the triangles, you could tell that underneath there were dots that were just lighting up, and then the rest of the triangle wouldn't light up. So it was a very low glow, and they were just on at the same time. I mean, it was fine, but it wasn't really that special. Also on the Makoto Saber, the copper neck section, the control box, and also the pommel had painted areas, and I didn't really realize that. Maybe I should have known because of what I was purchasing with that awesome blade, and then the rest of it should have been more if I was expecting like completely, metal crazy hilt. But yeah, it didn't turn out to be. It was okay, but I sold it after less than a year of having that Saber, and it's like, yeah, I want a really bright blade. But in the end, this is what's important. This is what makes Star Wars, to me, is the hilt. I want a working hilt. I want it to have sound, and I want it to light up. But in the end, if I just have a glowing blade that's amazing, and then you look at the hilt and it's just kind of I'm not going to be all excited about that. So yeah, you got... nice, right? Got the flash on clash there. Coolness. It's very evenly lit across the entire thing. Now there is a mirrored shine through, so I mean there's a pinch of brightness up here, but its reflection down the blade, it's even color along the entire thing. It's a little brighter towards the emitter, which is to be expected with the LEDs being right there. But I mean, yeah, it's beautiful. So pop that out. That's another difference overall between this Saber, this hilt, and the Saber Forge. The Saber Forge one that I had, I believe the LEDs were further down underneath the thin neck section, so it only had that much area to shine through, and then out the top. Whereas these LEDs are set right at the bottom of the emitter, and so all that light is coming right out. I mean, I wouldn't think there's any difference at all between this and one of the other Vader's Vault Sabers when it comes to brightness. I will say, let's see. So, also, of course, with the Saber Forge, you don't get lit arrows. They're just painted on. Eventually, when I got that Saber, I was excited about the Saber overall, but I even mentioned in my review, if y'all can change this, there's a way it ever, that evolves in the future from your product, I'd probably get that, because I thought I could deal with it without, but I can't. I mean, it's such a great part of this Saber, and I don't know how I could have lived without it. So, and I kind of lucked out. A lot of you are going to hate me for this, but I actually didn't have to wait for this Saber at all. I had my prodigal son, and I was thinking about selling it because I just purchased the Vader's Vault Flex, and I was thinking, eventually I'm going to want to upgrade my hero, but I'll have that Flex just for money's sake. I should go ahead and sell my prodigal son, and eventually I'll get a better hero. And right around the time I was thinking that, I had someone message me on my YouTube review about how this was their dream Saber. They were looking for something quite like it. They asked about the wait time, and I messaged them and let them know I was actually thinking about selling it. And around that same time, one of my good buddies who had purchased a Vader's Vault Hero had also bought a KR Hilt, and he wanted to do an install himself. So since he had both on the way, and the KR I think had come to him faster, he asked me if I wanted his Vader's Vault Hero because we had the same specifications. Pretty much, it was down to everything except I would have ordered maybe the bullet into the blade instead of the rounded, but I don't really care. That's a super small thing, and on my TFA Flex I'm getting a bullet end, so I'll have both types of blades, and so I'm really not worried about that at all. And so yeah, I literally waited about 4 weeks for this hilt. I'm so sorry you all hate me for that right now, because I know many of you have waited probably about close to 8 months for the Saber. I'm not going to go into the wait, because once you get this, I can't imagine there being really any complaints, because you're going to get something that you could possibly have forever and not want to sell. And that's not true for a lot of products that come faster. When you get those other products and you think they're going to satisfy you for a while, and then within less than a year you're getting rid of them because you find something else that you think you really want, and even then you might sell that other thing again. This Saber, Return of the Jedi is one of the first, I think it might have been the first Star Wars movie I ever saw. I mean, just because I was born in 1980, so probably 3 or 4 years later I saw Return of the Jedi, and then my dad introduced me to the rest of the saga. But I mean, this might be the first Saber that I ever saw. And although arguably there's nothing more Star Wars than a Graflex, and I have that coming, this one, I mean, this is the one that defeated Vader. This is the one that Luke actually slung to the side once the Emperor tried to get him to join him, and Luke really proved his worth, that he wasn't going to be drawn in by the power and by those feelings feelings inside of anger and hate and rage. I mean, in the end, he used whatever rage he had because he was trying to protect his sister. He was trying to protect his friends, and he was. I just think there's something really pure and good about all of that moment. And then once Vader, takes on Palpatine and saves his son. I mean, I think. Jedi is my second favorite movie. Empire Strikes Back all the way for me. It'll be tough to topple, but I'm looking forward to the new movies. But overall, yes, Vader's Vault Hero. It's incredible. We'll go back to the stand. Sorry for these transition moments, but yeah, that's my baby. And then just right before I turn off the video, a quick little trip around my room. You got that. You got the Star Wars holocron. It's like a 20 questions dealio. Groomsman gift, A New Hope poster. Thank you very much. Yes, I use my old Kindle Fire as scrolling Star Wars art. I have it constantly charging on the stand right next to that, and it's amazing. I mean, it sounds like a silly use of it, but hey, I still pick it up and read stuff every now and then. I just, I have scrolling art the entire time next to the Saber. Have a lot of my older items, like the Star Wars Encyclopedia. Have the original trilogy book that came out, and then all my VHSs. Strange thing, I think Revenge of the Sith maybe had never been released on VHS in the US, and so when it was released in the UK, I bought that version off of eBay or Amazon or something back then. I got the Death Star on the wall there. This has turned into a little bit of a Rogue One section. It wasn't intentional at first, but now that you got the Death Star and this whole setup with Vader and everything, it's like it's turned into something kind of new. And yes, this is a floating Death Star speaker. It's lit. Doesn't have any sound coming out of it right now. I don't really have anything playing through my Bluetooth, but I just wanted to kind of show that. And we'll turn off the light in just a second. But yeah, you got K2SO. And it's just a cool little area. Got Yoda built from frames from all the movies. You got the Jedi book. Tap that, it opens up with a light, and the book pops out of it. You have Star Wars frames. This is a really neat item off of Amazon. There's actually 2 large books for the prequels and the original trilogy, and it basically just takes the most important frames from the actual film process, and George Lucas handpicked ones that showed the main scenes of the movie that tells the story throughout. It's really great. And stupid little Palpatine homemade hologram deal off of ThinkGeek. I found this lit shadow box. There's actually different glass plates that you could put in there that have different movies, but I just needed a Return of the Jedi one. If they say they can't ever make a black saber, obviously through ThinkGeek's mistake, you can make a black saber, and that's not really all that great, but it's still pretty cool. I mean, I got an Empire Strikes Back, and I got the A New Hope, and so yeah, that's my main Star Wars section right there. And we'll turn the light off. It's pretty great. My freaking sanctuary up here. And this is also kind of my music studio upstairs. Got a lot of great things. This is a new thing. I got Millennium Falcon art, canvas panel art. Came framed and it turned out really wonderfully. And then you got R2. You got the Han and Carbonite mini fridge. And you got the No I'm Your Father statue. Actually, this has turned into a little bit of Empire Strikes Back section. Wasn't intentional either, but I mean, hey, you got the Hoth art. You got Han and you got Vader with the father confession. So yeah, that's my place, and that's the Vader's Vault Hero Saber. And just message me if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.